Hey Felicity, how you doing this week?
I'm doing well, Emma. Thank you very much. I've got over myself a little bit. I was feeling, as you know, a bit frustrated about being slow learning a new ClickFunnels, and I was like, "Ah!" But now I've just got myself back on track, and I'm like, no, I'm not giving up on this. Even if it takes me all year to figure it out, I'll do it. So I
Love
feel
it,
actually a little bit
love
triumphant
it.
about that. So
When
yeah,
I
that's me.
I love it when I feel like that. I always say to myself, where am I rushing to get to? Where is it you're rushing to
Mm,
get to?
mm, mm,
Because it's
mm,
like
mm.
wherever we get to, wherever we want to go, we get there, and then we want
And
to
we
go
rush
somewhere
off to
else.
somewhere else, don't we? Yeah, absolutely. And
We have
we've
somewhere
talked
else we
about
want to
this,
go.
haven't we? This is why
We
you
have.
need an accountability partner that says to you, come on, Felicity, we've had this conversation before. Come on,
Get your butt in gear, girl.
back,
Get your
back,
butt in gear.
get back in your own lane, get your butt
That's
in
it.
gear and just don't slow and steady. So anyway, that's
Definitely.
out the way. That's my little bit of cathartic counselling. Thank you, everybody. But we have a lovely, lovely guest with us today.
We do. The lovely Lesley Thomas. Hi Leslie, how you doing?
Hi there, Emma. Hi, Felicity. I'm really, really well. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
You're
You
most
are
welcome.
more than welcome. Thank you for being part of it. We've spoke to so many incredible women, haven't we,
We
Felicity,
have, yeah.
over the last year and a half, maybe year, maybe year.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's from the pandemic, wasn't it, really?
yeah, and it's just been so inspiring for us as leaders and entrepreneurs, and working our own businesses. I literally, you'll see me. I have my pen and my paper, and whenever we catch up with anybody, any
Mm,
new entrepreneur, business owner, I'm like that, aren't I? Just scribbling the whole time.
absolutely. Yes, yes,
Learn
yes.
so much. So thank you for being here, Lesley. So can you tell us, Lesley, a little bit about you? You're a business coach, what it is that you do, where your journey started. We just want to learn everything about you.
Okay, so
Where did it all start?
I probably need to go back a few years. So I spent 20 years working in telecommunications, both fixed and mobile. So I started my career working for BT, and
Yeah.
then I joined Orange. That became Everything Everywhere. That became
Mhm.
EE.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I had two young children who were aged about 4 and 2. My husband had already set up his own business selling ski property in Switzerland. I,
Wow.
I
Love
know,
that. Got to come
yeah,
back to you on that one.
I'll come back to
That's
that,
good.
don't worry.
Making a note on that
Okay.
one.
So I
Yeah.
was kind of leaving him very early in the morning, breakfast time, feeding the two children as I was heading up on the train up to my corporate job. And I realized that was no life for me, my husband, my family, or my
Mm,
employer. I wasn't giving, fully to anybody.
mm, mm.
So I made the decision to leave, and I joined my husband in his business, and I set up the French part of the business.
Oh.
So we now sell in France and in Switzerland.
Wow.
I'd always been I'd always coached informally throughout that time, be it as a manager of a team, be it somebody who was part of a mentor program, mentoring people in my corporate life. And since becoming an entrepreneur 10 years ago, I've always had people coming to me wanting to know how I set up the business, what it takes to set up your own business, etc., etc.
Mm.
For the last couple of years, I've been feeling very unsatisfied with working in my husband's business
Mm,
because the role I perform, I spend part of my time still working in that business.
Mm.
It's very functional. I help clients, I hold a client's hand through the purchase process.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
the
yeah.
intermediary between them and the French or the Swiss notary. It's
yeah.
very much almost painting by numbers to a certain extent,
Yeah.
and it wasn't singing to my soul. So
Okay.
the last 2 years, I've been saying to my husband, I want to do something else. Okay, what do you want to do? I don't know. I'm not
Don't
sure.
know. Yeah. Yeah.
And then lockdown hit, and literally the day lockdown hit, I said to my husband, I know what it is. I
No
want to
way.
be a business coach.
Good for you.
So I studied and
Can
Yay.
I just
qualified.
go back? I just want to
Yeah,
quickly go back.
yeah.
Where did that come from? Where did that vision, or where did it come from? Was there anything that you did that made that sort of come to mind, or did it just literally pop up out of nowhere?
Literally, it felt as though the universe
Was
was
telling
tapping
you.
me on the shoulder and
Yeah,
saying,
yeah, yeah.
you didn't have time before. You said you didn't know what you
Uh,
wanted to do. You didn't have time to do anything else. Well, guess what, girl? I'm giving you time now.
Love
And
it.
that
Love
is
it.
how it felt.
Lovely.
When so my children were being homeschooled, obviously, at the time.
Yes. Yes.
They would go to their online lessons.
Yes.
They took over our office. We're in my garden office now, which has come about because of my coaching business. But they took over our offices in the house. I would go and find a quiet corner on the sofa, put my headphones in, and I would do my learning at the same time they would do.
Oh, I love that.
Very nice.
Love that, Lesley.
And it worked brilliantly. And for me, what the coaching qualification has done is simply given me some additional tools in my toolkit. Because I've been in corporate life, I've made that transition. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 10 years. So everything I teach my clients, everything my clients have gone through, I've gone through as well at some point in my journey. Rather than just being a business coach who's gone, hey, what? I fancy being a business coach. Actually, I've walked the walk and now I'm talking the talk. And I feel as though everything that I've gone through, both in transitioning from being in corporate, painful times we've had in our other business, the crash between 2008 and 2010, the Brexit referendum. The Brexit referendum was harder for us than the crash was, and it's harder for us than leaving the EU was, because there was so much uncertainty. Some people thought it meant we would never be able to go to France again. Turns out, of course, that wasn't true, but because there was so much uncertainty, we had to ride that wave of uncertainty. So in becoming the money mastery business coach now, which is who I am, I am coaching female entrepreneurs grow their business, to be able to increase the revenue in their business, to be able to increase the client reach they have and the marketing messages that they are creating, particularly when they come from a position of having a negative money mindset. And that negative money mindset has created certain beliefs in them which are not helpful, basically.
So and that they probably don't even know that they have, Lesley, do
they? Absolutely. Very often the premise a client will come to me with is, I know I've got a good business. I'm getting, clients who are telling me I'm doing a good job, but I can't seem to make more money. What do I need to do to make more money? And that rings alarm bells for me, which says, hang on, what do you mean you don't know how to make more money? What is going on there? And a lot of this relates back to women are very, very good at over-delivering and
undercharging.
Exactly. And once that penny drops, they start to realize the limitation isn't in their business. It's around how they're thinking about their business and how they're thinking about their own business.
Definitely. I loved what you had to say there, and I just think that's a massive lesson to anybody listening that wants to transition and do something else, but they don't know what that is. You spoke about looking back, and I know Felicity's done the same, and I've done the same, looking back over your experiences and the things that you've done, and what there tends to be something in that's repetitive, doesn't there? Like you say, with the coaching or the nurturing or the communication or whatever it may be. And that's a great place to start. Look back at your experiences, and then you can decide, okay, I want to make that transition. I'm at a crossroads. I don't know what I want to do. Just reflect. Reflect back.
And take a shower. Because I have all my best ideas in the shower, basically.
Take a shower.
So,
there we go. Take a shower.
Taking a shower, absolutely.
So many people say that, don't they? And I also wanted to, touch on what Emma said as well. It's sometimes the time when we're not trying so hard, isn't it? It's like for you had your aha moment. But it didn't really just come out of nowhere, because you'd been putting the question out there, whether it was to yourself, to the universe, for 2 years, and you'd been marinating in that, hadn't you? And then as soon as there was that moment, you were ready to receive that. This is what you'll love and be good at, And I love that. And I also I wanted to touch as well when you said about you went back and trained as a coach, and I just think with the market being as it is and things moving so quickly and changing so quickly, I think for whatever field we're in, we need to constantly be looking at where we can fine tune and upskill, can't we?
Upskill.
Otherwise, we're just not staying at the peak of our game for our clients. And I think one of the biggest gifts I found from doing coaching training is learning to listen.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when we're managers or we speak for a living, it can be really easy to be talking, can't it? And we miss so much if we don't let somebody have the space and the feeling of trust that they can talk, even if they feel like they're rambling, because that's where stuff comes out, isn't it? Emma and I, do you know the process called 7 levels deep, where you just keep asking the question? It's like, so you ask a question. Emma, you're more fluent in it with me. So you ask, why do you want to?
Yeah, you just basically, it's uncovering your why, basically, but it really gets you to uncover your why. So an example of that could be, you know, why do you want to go into business? And 9 times out of 10, it's because I want to work for myself, I want to be my own boss, and I want to earn more money. I want to earn my own money. I don't want to keep giving it, you know, making someone else richer.
Yeah.
And then they ask the question, well, why is it that you want to be your own boss? Why is it that you want to earn more money? And then you start answering, and it goes down 7 levels. It's a Dean Graziosi tactic, whatever you want to call, method.
And that questioning method can be applied to anything in coaching, can't it? If you feel like you're not actually getting the answer, because often we'll answer from the surface of our mind, won't we? Rather than, particularly, I'm sure, around money issues, because I think a lot of time, I know I have in the past, haven't wanted to admit that I had, you know, challenges around beliefs around money. You want to, and when you're running your own business, you want to appear competent and confident, don't you?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think that is to a certain extent the difficulty in money mindset as a business niche, because you do have to build up that level of trust very, very quickly with somebody if you are going to be really, really effective, because getting out of them, you know, the crux of why they have the problem does take some deep questioning. And the whole why thing is something that I do. I just never gave it a name, to be honest with you. And it is, you know, it is being able to channel down into exactly where it's coming from. And then that's almost
clarity.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
where the release comes from for a client. And that is why one of the things that I do right at the beginning of a coaching relationship is to take the client through an assessment on their money archetypes. Because well, that gives me far more information in a matter of 8 minutes than spending several hours coaching, because the way that I deliver that back to them is not a case of this is what you are like. I do it in terms of this is what you could be like. And because I'm almost giving them permission to admit it or not, that is when they will every time say, oh my goodness, that's me. Camera in the room. How do you know that about me? You know that about you. Archetypes is what is telling me what's going on for you. So I can build up that level of trust very quickly, because they suddenly realize I've put the onion in front of them and I can see what is going on. But you're so right. It is very, very personal, and it does take, for some people, you know, a lot more peeling of that onion than it does
definitely others. Yes, I love it. What have been some of your challenges, would you say, throughout your journey? So now you're doing your coaching, you're obviously loving it. You've been doing it now since the first lockdown, so last year. Amazing. And what would you say are some of the challenges that you found, not just in your coaching but in your entrepreneurial journey?
I think it's trying to feel as though you are managing to do everything you want to do in the way that you want to do it. I think when we're managing, trying to be a great parent, be a great wife, be a great friend, build the business in the way you want to, be a great, daughter and sister, etc. It's recognizing you can't do it all and forgiving yourself for not being able to do it all. Because as much as we try, women in particular, I think, we do try to give our all to everybody and then don't have very much left over for ourselves. So we wonder why we don't sleep very well, why we're not exercising as much as we want to, why we're having, an extra glass of wine or an extra piece of chocolate. And it's learning not to beat yourself up when you haven't got your shit totally sorted
together
all of the time, basically. It's recognizing that I can't do it all of the time, that I have to ask for help, that I have to ask and take on support in order to be able to do as many of the things I want to do, but more importantly, the things that I want to do, doing them to the best of my ability.
Yeah, very nice. I used to call that Wonder Woman syndrome, where we feel like we've got to do everything and do it better than everybody else, never ask for help, and you end up completely burning yourself out and doing everything at a mediocre level, don't you? Really?
Absolutely, you do.
Do you have any systems how you so of course, as you're so right saying you can't do everything, and I think one of the challenges I have, which I talk to Emma about quite a lot, is the social media hustle. And I just sometimes I'm just like, I just don't want to be doing this. I know I've got value to add to my clients and I want to make a difference in their lives, but the hustle thing. So how do you manage that? How do you kind of prioritize and compartmentalize so that you're feel like you're focusing on what you want to? I mean, one of the big things about being an entrepreneur, isn't it, is that to have that work-life balance, and then more often than not, initially we're like work, crazy, can't ever switch off, and then so
yes, I don't believe there is a work-life balance. I have to say,
not in this day and age, is it? It's a blend, isn't it?
I think you just have to consciously choose what you're going to do, and I think that is the difference between deciding or trying to do it all and not being able to, or consciously saying, this is what I am going to do, and being effective, or as effective as you can in those moments that you are doing what you have consciously decided to do. And I think I'm totally with you, Felicity. Social media, I find, social media controls us. We don't control social media. It's a very brave person, particularly in the early days of a business, who says, do you know, I'm not going to bother with social media, or I'm only going to be on one platform, because you can't help but think, okay, well, I might be on this platform, but is my ideal client here, or are they over there, or are they across all of these? And I think it's about being effective. So the way that I have worked out being effective is I cannot do this bulk planning of content and sitting down and spending a day to create content for a month, because for me, I have to be in the moment for my content. I have to be able to respond what's going on around me. So I usually 7:45 in the morning, my boys leave for school at 7:45, or obviously during lockdown they weren't leaving at 7:45, but I got into the habit of 7:45. I would come up to the office and I would think, right, what am I going to post about today? So I would, and LinkedIn would be my first. I'd go into LinkedIn first of all, and then I would take whatever I did in LinkedIn and made it more relevant for Facebook and for Instagram.
Right.
I then decided that wasn't working, so I had taken on somebody to manage my social media as far as Facebook and Instagram is concerned.
Right.
I tell them the themes I want them to be using. I don't tell them the actual content, but the themes. LinkedIn, I still do my own posting, because I feel that needs to be
more personal.
More personal. On social media, on Facebook and Instagram now, I've made it much smaller chunks rather than the big posts I was doing. It's a few lines, and I feel that works for me.
Brilliant.
But I love Clubhouse.
Yes.
doesn't require you to do any of that.
Any of it.
No, just show up
You
and
could have
and
left.
share your
And
share
talk.
value. Yeah,
That's
share
it.
value.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Wonderful.
death to all the other platforms, please.
Yes,
Let's
me
just have
too,
Clubhouse.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
love Clubhouse. But although at the moment we need a link to Instagram, don't we, so people can
That's
actually
true.
contact
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, no, I think, and I love that, Lesley. I'm not even going to bother to comment on it. You've made, I love that you're effectively saying you need to work out what works for you, and not, I mean, we, again, Emma and I talk about this all the time, that comparison, that comparing, despairing, where you're like, oh, they've got more followers than me, and blah, blah. So what, you just stay in your own lane and do what you do and do it well.
Exactly, absolutely. Do what you do, and also it is quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And when you recognise that only a very, very small percentage of anyone's posts are shown to the audience following you, it doesn't matter if you've got 1 million followers or 1,000 followers. The screen is only so big, and unless people are scrolling, and if they're scrolling, they're probably not my ideal clients anyway.
Exactly.
No, that's it. That's the key thing, isn't it? It's getting to know who it is that you're talking to.
Yeah.
We were talking about this on Clubhouse last night. There's that fear with women in going into business. Or you're thinking about going into business, you're thinking, I've got to do all of this stuff, I've got to be in all these different places. But it's that fear of missing out, isn't it? That fear of you're not gonna get in front of the person that you need to get in front of. Someone else is going to. Exactly. But actually, we were speaking last night about how important it is to really sort of fall in love with your ideal client and know exactly where they are, what it is that they do, what it is they like to, they talk about, what books they, everything about them. And then you'll realize that they're not on all these different bloody places. You don't need to be on all these different places. It's just more work for us, isn't it?
Exactly.
Totally.
And I think that's exactly, and that's what I learned, is that I want to be present on all the platforms, because very often it is about just having a presence. So I'm present on Instagram and I'm present on Facebook, but I am not doing that content physically.
Delivering.
For me. Whereas on LinkedIn, my ideal client is spending a lot of time there. So therefore, it needs to be me producing that content, because it's long form, or it's a video, or it's an article, etc. And being comfortable with that, being comfortable that I cannot do everything across all platforms and coach clients, because I wouldn't time to do it, basically.
Absolutely. No, that's really nicely said. Thank you, Lesley. You've made me feel better about that.
And I love that. I think as well, the message in that from Lesley, it's being intentional, isn't it? It's really being intentional. Nice. And then even like you said, when you went in initially and you may have been in a few different platforms, but then you've come back and said, right, actually, that's not working. That's not quite working for me. So you're able to then pivot or change direction, decide, try something else. And that's one of the key traits we see all the time with women that are in business, that are successful and they're growing. This ability to be able to just reroute. Try something, may not be working, so we reroute. We try something else, that might not work, we reroute.
And seeing it not as failure, but as a learning experience. And even, I think initially for me in business, if I did something and it cost me money, I was like, oh my God, I've wasted money and I'm a failure. It's all just learning. It's
part of it,
isn't it? It's investment in your growth.
So I've heard a coach saying, and I've heard him saying, Pete Cohen is a coach that I follow.
I know Pete. Yeah.
Well, one of the things he always says is, don't think of things happening to you, think of them happening for you. And I think that is such a brilliant reframe, because all of a sudden those lessons are more than just lessons. They are things that have really enabled us to become the people that we are today.
Totally.
And I think that is a really, really good thing to hold on to.
Yes. But, and the famous example of that is Apple, Steve Jobs, isn't it? Where he got fired from his own company. And I know he said, didn't he, that when you're looking forward, you can't understand, why these things have happened, but it's only when you look back, you can see the thread that joins everything. And, I think most of us haven't been fired from our own companies, have we? So, if we can come back from there, not yet. So thank you. What are some of your highs? What are the things you love about your new business and your new venture?
I think I love the fact now that I have people who are coming to me and saying, oh, so and so said, I must get in touch with you. So and so said to have a conversation.
Yeah,
Being called things like the money woman, the money coach. And that really did make my heart sing, because I recognize I did that. I created that. I have done the work to establish that. So I think it's those things that when others start to recognize you for what you have done, particularly when you have been known for doing something completely different before. And the other day, my son said to me, and I can't remember what we were talking about. Oh, well, that was right. I'm not a particularly brilliant cook. I'm okay. I've got a bit better.
I'm terrible. Don't worry about it. I'm really bad.
Gusto is brilliant because
yes,
they deliver
tried
the
that
product to you with
I was no good at that.
my son was, the other day,
I've tried them all.
But I am getting better. But Sam said something to me, and I said, "Oh, I haven't always been the best for cooks." And he said, "Yeah, but Mum, you weren't meant to be a cook. You were meant to be, and you are a businesswoman."
Oh, and how old?
12.
12.
Oh my!
Oh, I love that, because he and we had another lady a few weeks ago. One of her, I think it was her little boy, turned around and said something to her, and your children are watching you. They're watching you, aren't they?
They're learning.
And such a role model.
And they speak the truth, kids, don't they? It's what they see. They say what they see.
Yeah, they do, absolutely.
Oh, I love that. So on that, I love that. Sorry, Felicity.
No, I'm still cooing over that. That's just lovely. So nice.
I was just going to say, so in light of that, how do you celebrate? Do you celebrate your successes? And how do you go about it?
Oh God, I think one of my mantras is to celebrate every success, no matter how small. Because if the pandemic has taught us anything, we went through life, I think, before the pandemic, rushing from one thing to another to another.
Sleepwalking a bit, weren't we?
Exactly. Taking things for granted, not smelling the coffee, not appreciating the flowers in the garden. So now I celebrate every small little victory, and it doesn't have to be big things. It can be, having a nice quiet bath. It can be, having a slightly more expensive bottle of champagne. It can be, having a takeaway. It can be going out for a walk on my own. It's just recognizing and showing gratitude, basically, thanking the universe. And I'm not woo-woo in the slightest, but I do think that when we are grateful, when we take a moment to say thank you, it resonates in our body. Our body feels us having that pause, recognizing what we have done, and recognizing that we're moving forward with each of those successes. We're very quick to judge ourselves and very quick to berate ourselves. But let's not do that. Let's be very quick to celebrate, pat ourselves on the back, and recognize that when things don't go quite right, they're happening for
a reason
and not to us. Exactly.
Beautiful. Lovely. So what's next for you then, Lesley? What are you working on? What do you see that you're going to create in this new year?
Right. Well, for me, it's growing the business further. Absolutely. Collaboration is very big for me. So I'm working on a couple of collaborations at the moment.
Nice.
I'm finalizing a group program. And I'm also planning, like everybody is at the moment, my book.
Yay.
So I
lovely
today about my book. So I'm hoping to get a book either out by the end of this year or the early part of next year.
Amazing.
Because it's something that I've always wanted to do. And kind of thought it would be too hard to do. When am I going to have time to write a book? I realize now, with time blocking, with being very regimented about what you're doing when you're doing it,
Yeah.
can factor a book into that.
Absolutely.
And I also like to have a podcast, funnily enough, as well.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that as well. And that is the thing. That is what I love now about what I'm doing. Not only does this coaching role give me real energy, it's re-energized my view of my other company and what we're doing there as well. And I think that's the whole point of being an entrepreneur, is that we get to decide.
You get to choose.
Exactly, we get to choose. And if we're not happy doing what we're doing, then guess what?
Change. Yeah.
Change it.
Absolutely.
That's it. You change it. That's it.
Very, very nice.
And that is such a perfect note to end on, isn't it? Because I think anyone that's in a corporate, like you said you were, Lesley, or doing something that they're not happy doing, you do get to make a decision. You know, you get to make that decision. You can change it. It's all in your power to make that change.
Absolutely. Be responsible for yourself. Be responsible for your life, and don't let others take away your power by letting them, by feeling they are the ones that have that, and they don't. We can all decide. The change isn't necessarily easy sometimes, but I tell you what, it's flipping worth it.
It's so well worth it, isn't it? And so much better to go through that short-term pain than the long-term pain of saying something that's not fulfilling you for years and years. So
definitely. No regrets.
Lesley, you're an inspiration. Thank you so much for your time and coming on the call today. I'm sure our listeners will have take so many takeaways from this.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much both for having me.
We really appreciate it. You take care, Lesley, and Felicity, I'll catch up with you soon. Take care, ladies.
Take care. Love. Bye-bye.
Bye.